Alright, so let's do some green screening. So green screening is a powerful tool because it lets us do some things that we would do uh, that might take us a long time. Like it might take us a long time to go in with the quick select tool and select all of this and get it out. Instead, we can go to color range when we use a green screen. I've already selected mine out, so I'm actually going to open this as a new picture because I've already done this example. And I'm going to just open it up again. And close out of this. So I'm going to open it up again. And we're going to go to color range. And I got a quick mask on. I got none, and let's just say we do minus everything. Because this is probably more of what yours will look like when you open it up. So now, just to show you the quick mask, we got nothing selected. And all you have to do here is you go in and you just use the brush to kind of grab the spots where it's green, and you can see it does a pretty good job of grabbing everywhere where it's green. Anything that's not the green color of the background doesn't touch it. You can see the silhouette here. Okay, and you can do things if there's any fuzziness to try to remove them a little. And that's kind of, you can play with that. But the default setting of 40-50 seems to be pretty good. So this selects an area. Now, I'll get rid of this later if I don't want it, or I won't. I'll decide later. You might want it. So then we're going to go to select and mask. And this allows us to invert what we're doing. So I only want to keep this, so I click invert. I've got my detection changed a little. The default's like this. I want to see what I have. And this is if you do have any green, you can kind of get rid of it. So with some things I do is sometimes I will change the smart radius out a little bit. That works on the edges, and I'll feather it a little bit too. You don't want to feather too much. You can see as you go further with the feathering, it gets blurrier and blurrier on the edges as you get further and further in. So we don't want to do that, but like 1 or 2 points is usually pretty good. Same thing with smoothing. It doesn't really affect the image, and this is a huge image. It doesn't really affect the contrast or shift edge. So none of that stuff's as much of a big deal. I do like to use the feather tool. And then I do the color output, and I'm just going to do a new layer with a layer mask. And I'll show you why I'm going to do that in a minute. So new layer mask takes all of this stuff out. I actually do not want the chair or anything, so I'm just going to get my paintbrush right here. And I'm just going to paint that out. For what I'm doing, I don't need those, nor do I want them. I'm just going to make sure they go away. And the 2 top corners of the green screen I caught in there. So now it's all the back of me. And what I can do with this is I can drag it to another image if I wanted. So I could just hit enter and select this image and shift click here. So right now I've only got the part of me cut out selected, and I can drag it to another image. At least that's the hope. And it comes in there huge. I'm going to do a free transform and reduce it to 10% both ways. So 10% by 10%, and I'm down here, so let's bring me up. There I am. Okay, so I did 10% on both sides in the adjustments, and I hit enter. So even here, I'm going to bring that, I'm going to end up bringing a mask back. So I just use the mask to get rid of the stool in the corners. If you didn't have the stool in the corners, you could have just went straight to new layer, that's fine. What I'm actually going to do is, I don't really look right in the scene. I'm a little brighter than what's going around, so a good way to deal with that is to put this layer above, and this will actually take us into our next lesson nicely. And what we're going to do is we're going to blur this layer. So we're going to go to filter, blur, we're going to do a Gaussian blur, and you're going to want to make it so it's pretty blurry. You can keep some of what's going on, but we're just trying to get the color scheme right, the right tone. So I do a Gaussian blur. I'm going to control and click on here, and I'm going to make a mask. And that mask, I'm then going to change the blending of it to soft light. And what that does is it kind of brings me into the image looking a little more natural. Whereas before, my tone was off, I kind of have that same tone as the picture going on now because we did the blending option. It's a little thing, but it makes a big difference. And then you can play before that with size and everything else. But this is, an idea of how we would want to do this kind of a thing with the green screening, and it's really effective. It could be useful in many different projects, and it's why it's so popular with photography. So I hope this was helpful. So that's all.